Good morning. Hello. Welcome back. Well, it's actually afternoon. It's noon here in New Zealand. I don't know what time it is for you. It's probably a lot later than that, and I'm in Tuesday, and you're probably in Monday. So we are back to Dungeon Master preparation, where I go through and explain the process and then answer your questions as best I can. And then, of course, we actually build some NPCs so that you can use them in your game. And I have very much the intention to make sure that there's a lot of participation today, just like previous Dungeon Master preparation. Yesterday we did a lot of adventure building yesterday, and all of this stuff is intended to assist you in doing your job more efficiently and effectively, and hopefully giving you the tools that you need. Now, I have done a lot of NPCs. If anybody knows anything about my channel, there's a bucket load of them, and I did a lot of them for the Lost Mine of Phandelver, and I have every intentions of doing them for other pre-made adventures if people want me to do so. It doesn't mean I have to do that. It doesn't mean we want to do that, but we can if we want. My suggestion to you is grab some pen. Grab a pen, some paper or a pencil, get some food, some drink, get comfortable, and let's get cracking into it, because yes, I do have a slideshow for you today. We won't be just looking at my face. I'll do the presentation, we'll open up to Q&A, and then we're going to make some NPCs, and hopefully a few of them rather than just one. I'm planning to do a few if we can get through it. I think we can. Anyway, shall we get started? Hi, welcome to How to D&D. My name is Fred Weller, and today I want to talk about Dungeons & Dragons and roleplay games. Like any roleplay game, it really doesn't matter. Just because I'm saying Dungeon Master doesn't mean it isn't Game Master. It can be any of those sorts of things. So what are we trying to do? This is Lesson 2 as part of the Dungeon Master preparation, and this is building or creating a non-player character or NPC. So an NPC or a non-player character is a character that is going to be in the story or the adventure that you're running for your roleplay game or Dungeons & Dragons, and it's controlled by the Dungeon Master rather than one of the players. You're not playing a character, it's not a player character, it is a non-player character. That's essentially why it's called an NPC. So the thing with anything like this is I usually focus on the things that are ultimately important to you. So I've broken it down. So the overview for today is we're going to do quick non-player characters for those of you who don't have time to build anything. So I'm going to give you as many resources as I think you will need to be able to do that as fast as possible. Then we're going to discuss building a non-player character, making the non-player character name, creating motivations for that non-player character. It doesn't matter whether it's the villain, the main villain, or something else. Motivations are very important. Developing the non-player character aspects, so that tends to be all the things that make them up. We're going to look at selecting or creating the non-player character appearance, because appearance for a non-player character tells a lot to your players. And then constructing non-player character stat blocks, which we won't be going into a lot, but I do have some quick fixes, because essentially this isn't about building stat blocks, because that's a different lesson. And then some miscellaneous recommendations, since I've done quite a few of them, and you probably will have seen them on my channel already, particularly if you've run the Lost Mine of Phandelver or the Curse of Strahd. So the objectives for this lesson is I'm going to explain how to build a non-player character, we're going to demonstrate it, and then a practical example, well, that's definitely something we can do. What I am hoping is in the future that we will be able to pull people into the stream, into the live video stream, and they will be able to be part of that process. I'm not able to do that just yet, but we're working on that process. So that's why you'll see that as the third objective, and that's going to be for the future. Now, D&D Beyond, or Dungeons & Dragons Beyond, is an online website, and I'm going to refer you to the backgrounds for Dungeons & Dragons 5e. They are available on D&D Beyond. I find them to be an incredibly useful resource when making any kind of non-player character, and I want control, and I don't want to just give it to a bot to do everything for me, because I actually like the idea of having control over what I do rather than referring it to just random chance. So for those of you who are like, okay, it's all very well building a non-player character or creating non-player characters, but Fred, I just don't have time. And I totally understand. I'm in the same boat. And so I'm going to refer you to my quick fix, the quick non-player characters. There are places that you can go and get those sorts of resources fairly efficiently, and they will give you pretty much everything you need. Now, I've talked about these before, but I will talk about them again. I have also updated my list a little bit. So the easiest way to craft a non-player character is to get somebody else to do it for you. Like that's part of this. Like this whole thing is like Fred can do it for you, or you can go to a professional who's done it and put it in a book. And the first book I'm going to suggest to you is the Game Master's Book of Non-Player Characters. It has hundreds of pages of ready-made non-player characters. And you just go through and you pick the non-player character that you want. Now, because there are hundreds of pages, there's often more than one non-player character or NPC on a page. So you get a lot of NPCs for common purposes and other things. Now, I've done a review on this book. I consider it to be a very good book. It may be a bit difficult to reference, so there's a lot to be said for just getting the PDF, the searchable PDF, because, and I did talk to Jeff about this, there is no index. Like, he was unsure how to index this book, and I said, okay, I understand that problem, and so, but like many roleplay game books, they don't seem to have an index, which is very frustrating. Now, how would you index it? I know that's the next question, but now the second book I'm going to refer you to is actually Pathfinder. I'm referring to Pathfinder First Ed Edition. I don't really think it really matters ultimately, but Pathfinder's NPC Codex. It's full of pre-made non-player characters. Now, obviously, they do include stat blocks. Now, the stat blocks aren't going to do you any good unless you're playing Pathfinder First Ed Edition, but they also have some other aspects to them that flesh out and give you sort of the fluff and the lore and the information on an NPC. They often too give you an image, which is actually quite useful. So it's not a useless tool. It is just limited in the fact that a lot of the space will be taken up by mathematics for a particular game system. Okay. Now, any published adventure has heaps and heaps of non-player characters that you can steal, borrow, pinch, whatever. Like going through there, I would say out of the Wizards of the Coast books that have been put out, some of the best NPCs I've ever seen, and with a just vast array of them, is Out of the Abyss. Maybe not such an easy adventure to run, but in terms of a catalogue of NPCs that you could use, it has a lot of variety. Now, obviously, a lot of these are sort of tailored for the Underdark because it takes place in the Underdark. So unless you're sort of wanting that sort of flavour and feel, and that's where your adventures are being held, then maybe that's not going to work for you. But it is a great resource if you're running a campaign in the Underdark and you want a lot of really interesting and non-human NPCs. Because making human NPCs is actually, like, that's not that hard. You find quite a few of them. They're all over the place. But there are many other published adventures that do similar things like this. The internet is full of NPC or non-player character generators that make non-player characters with a push of a button. Like, you might need to set things up, and you can do this in seconds. One of the websites that a lot of people like to use is the Npc Generator. So that if you just go to the website, if you just type in Npc Generator, it will pop up. You don't really have control over what you're doing. This is one thing I don't like about the website, because I like to be able to control what I'm adjusting and just make sure I get inspiration and clues about what's going on as quickly as possible. Like that's what I want, is I just want the ideas to flow reasonably quickly. And I don't like NPC generators myself, but if you need to use them, it's there. The next book I'm going to suggest to you is actually the Game Master's Book of Random Encounters. Not the Game Master's Book of Non-Player Characters, but the Game Master's Book of Random Encounters, because it has a percentile table, a full 100 options. You roll your percentile dice, and you will get randomly generated NPCs. This comes down to their name, their surname, what gear they have, and a variety of other things. I've actually reviewed this book before, and we probably will be trying to create an NPC using this table today as an example for those of you who are interested, because it's right beside me waiting to be used. Now, there is also a number of different random NPC tables included in the Game Master's Book of Non-Player Characters. This is differentiating from the Random Encounter one. So I already talked about that. It was the first book I talked about. So not only does the book, the Game Master's book of non-player characters, have hundreds of pre-made NPCs, it also has charts and tables that you can randomly generate and create your NPCs. Now, they have a very tight focus so that you pick the table that's going to be appropriate for what you're trying to create. Okay, so they're laid out in that way. They don't give you quite as many options. You usually only get 20 options with those tables rather than 100 options. I prefer 100 options, but that's definitely there. Now, so for those of you who don't like the idea of pressing buttons and want to still have a random aspect to it and still want to do it reasonably quickly, there are random tables to make that happen for you, right? So you've got those tools. One of the first things we need to sort of discuss is like, how am I going to approach building a non-player character here in this tutorial? Well, quick. We're looking at quick as we can, like as fast as humanly possible. We're not looking to write up like pages and pages. It's not a 4-page backstory. It's not a 4-page NPC memoirs, nothing like that. That's not the intention at all. The idea is to get the pertinent information down as quickly as possible in note form that will help prompt you to assist you in role-playing and using that character at the table so that you don't look lost, okay, like a possum. So that's where we're trying to go. And so the first thing we're going to start off is with names, like non-player character names. I find that to be one of the best places to start. Now, so how do you generate names for an NPC? Well, a non-player character name, because it's probably, I would say, the most important step and the first step that I usually take, you can go and use some electronic name generators. There is a website called Fantasy Name Generators. It has many names, not just fantasy, but you can break it down into different cultures and nationalities and so forth, and you can flavor it pretty much any way you like. And my recommendation is when you are selecting a non-player character name, is you select one you can pronounce. Okay, don't pick something that you can't actually pronounce. This is one of the things that I've struggled with over time, is like, can I actually say that word? And if I can't, I'm not going to use it, okay? There is nothing wrong with using standard names. So if you want to use John, Bill, Sally, Jill, Ashley, Richard, stuff like that, that's all right. There's nothing wrong with that. You can use standard names. You could use the names of people that you know that are fairly standard, or if you know some people who have quite exotic names that you have met in the past and that you know personally, then you could utilize those names as well. So there's another way of sort of selecting inspiration for the names of your NPCs. Very easy, doesn't require you to have anything. You don't have to have a computer, you don't have to have a book or anything like that. You could just generate it from the people that you actually know already. It's not difficult to make up a list of non-player character names that you can use later. And this is one of the things I would recommend is, you know, with any given a session that you run, it's probably best to have a list of between 10 and 20 names that you can just pull whenever you need to. It doesn't need to be the surname, but at least the first name of that NPC or character that you might be using in your game. And that's to allow you to fill in the gaps when you start running your game, such as storekeepers, innkeepers, people who give out quests, whatever it might need to be. If you have to do anything on the fly, maybe the party decides to hire a whole lot of porters and you need a whole lot of names for the porters because the players decide to say, which they've done to me, what's the name of every single one of our porters? We have 12 of them, Fred. So if you need a list, make up a list. Sly Flourish says this, everybody does, still really useful, make sure you have one. Using the same names offered in the, well, sort of, I wouldn't say the same names, but sample names. There are sample names offered in the Player's Handbook in the Races section. So in the Races section of the Player's Handbook for Dungeons & Dragons 5e, in the very first part of each race, there's usually a series or selection of sample names offered to you. And you can utilize them to name your various NPCs, particularly if you know what race you want them to be already. Like if you've already determined that, that's a good way of doing it. Another good way is pop culture names from books, comics, and movies. I often take a lot of my material from those sources, and I recommend doing it yourself because it's a great way of solving a lot of problems. There is also another book that Wizards of the Coast put out. It's not a section that I particularly liked, but it does serve the purpose of assisting players and dungeon masters in naming things, and that is Xanathar's Guide to Everything. It has a long list and charts of just names, and you'll find that on page 175 to 192 of Xanathar's Guide to Everything. So there's quite a number of pages dedicated to just lists of names across every kind of culture you can think of. So if you already have that book, go grab that, and that'll solve a lot of your problems as well. And remember, you do not have to call on the powers of a machine. Sometimes you can call on the power of your brain and a piece of paper. Okay, I just need to take a quick break and drink water. Okay, moving on to our next topic. Non-player character motivations. Now you're probably wondering, why have I put it in this order? Because I find this is the easiest way to build a non-player character, is starting with the name, going for the motivation, and then filling in all the other bits and pieces. So the motivation of a non-player character is absolutely vital for portraying and interacting with the player's characters. Like, you need this. You not only are you portraying your NPC, but it's going to give you the cues for how it's going to interact with the player characters. So pull a simple motivation from real life, like anything you can think of from real life that might fit. I find this to be really useful, particularly if you know what the NPC's occupation is already. That's usually a pretty good guide as to figuring out, okay, we're dealing with a general store owner. What would be their motivation? Probably to sell their goods and make a profit so that they can live and survive in the world, right? So their motivation with the player characters, that NPC's motivation might very well be something like they want to give them a good deal, but they still want to make a profit. It might be as simple as that. You don't have to have anything more. Now that's just a general store owner. If you're dealing with a different NPC with a different occupation, or they have some sort of secret behind them, then it's going to change things again. So that's just a simple motivation, but we can do a lot more, and we will. Motivation tables for villains and NPCs can also be found in most game master books for any kind of role-play game. It doesn't matter what you're playing, there's usually some sort of motivation table included for any kind of major villains or minor villains and any non-player characters, and any kind of game master or dungeon master book that you have for any kind of role-play game. Why? Because designers know that this is absolutely fundamental to actually having an NPC, the motivation. The Dungeon Master's Guide for Dungeons & Dragons 5e has a table on page 94 with villain objectives and motivations. So if you're using the Dungeon Master's Guide for 5e, then you can pull a lot of your motivations from there. The Pathfinder Game Mastery Guide, you'll find on page, it just happens to be page 94 as well, has a long list of non-player character goals, so you can pull from there as well. For those of you who are wondering, why am I discussing stuff from Pathfinder and the current version of Dungeons & Dragons 5e? Well, first off, because the Pathfinder Game Mastery Guide for first edition Pathfinder is probably one of the better Dungeon Master guides out there. I would not say that it's perfect. I feel like there is some pretty big holes in that book, and that some of the stuff in the 5e book does it better. But I would say overall it's a resource that you will find extremely useful. This is why I'm referring to it. The next aspect that we need to deal with is actually aspects. Like, what are the aspects of our non-player character? And when I say aspects, you're probably thinking, well, what exactly do you mean? And actually what I mean is exactly the sort of thing that you were dealing with before with regard to role-playing a character. So when you're doing character creation for 5e, your player characters, what they've got to do is they've got to select some personality trait, an ideal, a bond, a flaw. And we're going to do the same sort of thing, but we're going to do that with a non-player character. So the depth of your non-player character is created by giving them a function. So their function might be their occupation, and it might be something else, but a function is what we want. Their personality traits, it might be, you're often better to stick to having one personality trait rather than two. It's all very well when you've got a player playing their character, but they only have one thing to deal with. Okay, so one personality trait is probably the one thing you want to stick with. An ideal might be useful to you. A bond, flaws, very, very useful, and these are the sorts of things you really want to have. And sometimes they will have a secret, but not every non-player character has a secret. The Dungeon Master Guide on page 89 to 91 and 96 has a small table or a series of small tables for non-player character characteristics. So if you wanted to actually use the 5e book, the DM's Guide, that's where you will find that information. A very easy way to develop a non-player character's aspects is by selecting a background from the player's handbook, because essentially that's where a lot of the sample backgrounds are. I know we were probably looking at this and thinking, well, they're not just samples, they are like, those are the backgrounds. Well, no, if you read the player's handbook for 5e, you'll notice that you can adjust these and make your own. And this is what we're dealing with now with the Unearthed Arcana. They're bringing that to the front. Like, that's the default now. You just make your own. And I think that's really what should have happened from the very get-go. But what it also does is it highlights that they have offered you, Dungeon Masters, a tool that you can use, right? So what you do is you select a background that you think will fit the NPC that you want to make or create. And then you can randomly roll or select the personality traits, the ideals, the bonds, and the flaws from the tables presented. I've discussed this sort of thing before. It's very simple. It will make your life so much easier. And if there's nothing there that you particularly like and you want to just make something up and you're able to do so, then do that. The first Dungeon Master screen for Dungeons & Dragons 5e also had a table on the first panel that randomly generated names and non-player character aspects. So if you still have the original Dungeon Master screen in your supplies and you're wanting to create an NPC, that table's actually pretty good. I think that Dungeon Master screen is probably more suitable for an experienced Dungeon Master who had a good grasp of the 5e rules. But for a beginner Dungeon Master, it's not quite so useful, unfortunately. You can also roll between 1 and 6 Rory's story cubes that assist in inspiring ideas for your non-player character, giving them the aspects we've just talked about, and you're doing this by presenting yourself with a picture, and by picture association you come up with an idea that will associate and be linked to the things that we need to build out, which is our function, personality traits, ideals, bonds, flaws, and maybe a secret. Okay, we've already done our motivation, so although you could use those cubes for that as well if you wanted to, although I think that's a bit odd. I wouldn't do that myself, frankly, but you could if you wanted to. Now, the idea is not new. Rory's story cubes, I do have a set with me today, is an idea that was originally presented by Sly Flourish or Mike Shea, and it's been picked up by the D&D and roleplay community. And that, like everybody under the sun, is now sort of showing Rory's story cubes as a tool that they use at their table for prep and for inspiration and for improvising. Okay. The Pathfinder Game Mastery Guide. Don't freak out, people. I know I'm talking about Pathfinder. I'm not planning to play Pathfinder. I'm just going to tell you about the stuff that's really worth looking at. And the Pathfinder Game Mastery Guide is excellent. If you turn to page 94 through to 99, it has a huge list of NPC or non-player character rewards, secrets, occupations, personality characteristics, backgrounds. Now, what makes this really useful to you is the fact that it gives you that list of occupations you might want and that list of secrets you might want to actually build out anything. One of the most useful tools. Now, this is actually one of that aspect to it you often don't find in other Game Master books or the Dungeon Master guide. And if you do, it's just not quite the same. Like, it's just nowhere near as comprehensive as that game mastery guide that Pathfinder put out. That's the first ed edition, not the second ed edition. Okay, so building out our aspects, that's the way to go. But with everything, I always feel like a picture tells 100 words, and so we need to deal with the non-player character appearance. Like, what does the non-player character actually look like? Bear with me, I need some water. Okay, so we're now up to non-player character appearance. What a non-player character looks like can help define them at surface level. It's really the surface level stuff. But it also gives us hints and tips as to what we might be doing with it underneath the surface, because you can actually present a lot of those cues through the appearance of that NPC. It's not actually absolutely vital to have the appearance of an NPC. It's just very useful. So this is why the appearance of your NPC I've put pretty much near the end. It's like one of the last things you deal with. If you don't have time to find a picture for your non-player character, then create one important physical characteristic or feature that makes them stand out. So what do I mean by that? If we don't have time to actually find a picture and we're not going to draw it or whatever, and so we need to have some sort of establishment for that, the appearance of that NPC, we might say, okay, they have a peg leg, or they have an eye patch, or they have a scar on their face, or they have a beard and a mustache. That's what defines them in some way. Or they have a tattoo on their forearm of a flower, a rose, or something like that. Something that makes them stand out and defines them. Something that you can describe to your player characters so they can think, okay, I associate that characteristic, that physical characteristic, with the name of the NPC that I am going to give them. And that helps them remember who they are. If you have access to the internet, you will find hundreds of non-player character portraits on Pinterest. You'll find stuff on DeviantArt, the ArtStation, Google Images. I'm going to say right now, this is often a trap for a dungeon master when you start Googling images for non-player characters, ultimately because you may have an idea in your head that doesn't fit the image, and you're trying to look for an image that fits your idea and you're never able to find it. Or you look through hundreds and hundreds of pictures and you just don't like anything that you find, but you think, okay, I mean, it's fun. I've spent many hours looking at pictures of NPCs and thinking, oh, that looks nice, but it's not really suitable for this particular character. What do I do? There is another way of approaching this, and sometimes, and I have done this, is I just find pictures on the internet and I just build the character around the picture. Like, you can do it that way if you really want to. I'm going to say right now that this is essentially a trap. It will suck away all your time. So try not to get fixated on the appearance of your NPC and trying to find a picture for them on the internet, because it's not necessarily a good idea. Pathfinder and similar roleplay games have decks of face cards that can also be very helpful. But like the non-player character portraits that you find on the internet, it can be difficult to find the perfect picture. I do have many decks of cards that are face cards. It's basically the bust version of your an NPC, and you just decide whether you want to use that one, and then you write on the back of it the name of the NPC and any details you want to sort of associate with that. I often don't write on the back of the card directly. I'll use like a sticky on the back, and I can peel it off and change that and use that reuse that card for a different NPC in the future if I want to. But those resources, they still exist. You can get them if you hunt around. Now, you can also draw a picture of the non-player character. This might be an option for you if you feel confident in your drawing skills, or you're happy with what you would draw. You don't have to be good at drawing. You just have to be happy that whatever you draw is going to be sufficient. Now, for those of you who are unaware, and my brother just recently has indicated there is new technology out there. Basically, it's artificial intelligence. You give it instructions. You need to be very specific about what you say, and you then program it. You send off the information, it goes to a server, and they create an image based on your description that you've used text with. Sometimes you can provide them with a starting image, or you can type in a sort of text description. And then it will then produce an image of that character or non-player character for you, or a monster, and then it will send it back to you. Now, usually if you jump into these programs, you'll find that initially they don't cost anything. But after you start using it too much, they charge you. And the fee is quite extensive. And some of these artificial intelligence software packages are pretty good at doing the job. And some of them are very hit and miss. And some of them are just shit. Like they are really bad. And you'll wind up with a whole lot of things coming out with multiple eyes all over the place. Oh, how come he's got 4 eyes in his head and 1 where his penis should be? Like that's essentially what you'll wind up with. So I'm going to recommend to you, and I believe Bob Worldbuilder did a video. Was it Bob Worldbuilder? No, I think it was Lunch Break Hero. Lunch Break Hero actually did a video that talked about and demonstrated some of these artificial intelligence software packages or servers that you can use their services for. And I would say Midjourney is probably the one you want to try out. It doesn't have there's not quite so much control, but I think the ultimate result won't look like a Frankenstein creature quite as much as the other ones. But go and check out his channel, Lunch Break Hero. And I don't want to talk too much about that, and you'll find that my slide does not reflect that because I'm still not convinced in the technology, although my brother is telling me that it's where everything is going in the future in terms of artwork. The problem is it still doesn't work unless you actually have some art skill. If you don't have some art skill, it's still not going to give you exactly what you want. Okay, we need to talk about the non-player character stat block. Non-player character stat blocks are another big, huge trap. There is nothing quick about building a non-player character stat block for combat, so don't bother. I wouldn't even go there. This lesson is not actually set up to try and build a stat block for your NPC. Because if you're building an NPC, the last thing you want to do is have it cut down in its prime. The idea of building the NPC is for the players to interact and use the social interaction pillar, right? That's why you're putting all this work into actually creating it in the first place. Otherwise, all you would want is just a stat block that can deal with combat. No, what we want to do is we want to use this for a very different purpose. Almost all roleplay games have a creature or monster book with generic stat blocks for commoners and combat NPCs. So if you're really looking for that, I would just recommend go grab those things first rather than going somewhere else. You don't need to make your own stat block in any case. It is always better to cannibalize somebody else's creation rather than have to go through all the mathematics for doing that. That's not to say that we won't make from scratch stat blocks in the future, because we will, but not today. And if we're going to do that, we're going to make monsters rather than some sort of NPC. Okay. The Monster Manual for Dungeons & Dragons 5e has a bunch of general combatant stat blocks for NPCs in the back of the book, including the commoner. I'm going to suggest the commoner be your staple for if you need to drop a stat block onto an NPC and it doesn't have a combat focus, just use the commoner stat block. It's pretty much like 10 across all of the ability scores, very few hit points, and yeah. It's never really designed to be in combat, but it can be. It gives you an idea of how many hit points. I think it's like 4. It's not a lot, right? It's going to die pretty quick, and kind of pointless to engage in a battle with a commoner. The Dungeons & Dragons 5e has also developed things called Sidekicks, and these give you medium stat block complexity. You'll find this in Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. They're actually built right out, the rules for actually making your own sidekicks. So you could use sidekicks as an NPC using the structure that's laid out, because it is not as complex. It's a lot simpler. It's medium difficulty in terms of constructing it, and that will have some combat utility to it. Another option is if you don't have Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, then the Dungeons & Dragons Essentials kit also has up to from level 1 to 6. You can use the rules for creating Sidekicks as a stat block for your NPC. Now, if you don't have any of these, you could probably find the Unearthed Arcana. There was a package that released the Sidekick rules. So go onto the Dungeons & Dragons website and then go and look for the free PDF for that Unearthed Arcana, download it, and then use what they have offered there. It's not the complete thing, it's not fully tested, but then again, seriously, I don't think Wizards of the Coast actually tests that much stuff. I think sometimes they just pick things out of the air. So if you wanted something, that would probably offer you a quick fix as well. Now, if you want a more complex stat block for your Dungeons & Dragons 5e non-player character, and you want to build it, but you want to build it fast, there's a website called RPG Tinker. So that's RPG Tinker as in Tinker. And that there will actually create a stat block for you. You kind of pre-program it and poof, you get one. I think there's even an option just to press a button and generate it randomly. That's it. But it's very sort of basic in nature, but it will do what you want. It'll do some of the things you want it to do, not all the things you want to do. Nothing's going to do that. Okay, we can't have everything from a machine. Remember, the best brain and machine that you have access to is not your computer, it's your brain. Not somebody else's necessarily. Okay, miscellaneous recommendations. A combination of all of the methods and techniques can help when you are struggling to make a non-player character. I'm really serious. My recommendation to you is don't just use one technique. Use multiple techniques to get the job done. If you don't get to use the non-player character, then just save it up for another time. I know it's frustrating when you build a non-player character or create one and they never interact with it and it's gone. And you're like, okay, or they kill it. This is often something that tends to happen is the players will just and I kill them. And they didn't even have a chance to open their mouth. They never had a chance to open their mouth. They don't even know what the name of the NPC is. It doesn't matter. Just take that NPC and put it somewhere else. You can use it later, okay? It's possible that the players will have their characters kill non-player characters, and even when you've spent a lot of time and invested a lot of time and stuff, you just can't get away from that fact, okay? It's always happened. It happens in new tables, it happens in intermediate tables, and it happens in experienced players' tables. People just do it. It just happens. So I'm hoping that this has given you pretty much all of the tools that you required to get your own stuff going, make sure that everything is working well for you, and that you can build your own stuff fairly efficiently and fairly quickly, and you won't feel overwhelmed by the whole process. And I would like to thank everybody for watching. Patrons, thank you very much. Thank you for watching my live streams and my videos. And hey, till next time, keep rolling those 20s. Okay, I'm not gone. We are traveling over to my face, and I'm going to go through the chat fairly quickly. So this lesson, you'll notice, is made very much off previous. So I've essentially what I've done is I've taken older videos, I've turned this into a class. Okay, so it's very similar in nature. It has been refined a bit more, and a bit more has been added to update it. So if you're thinking it's quite similar to something else I've done in the past, you're quite right. Now, the best way to support this particular class so it keeps happening is to go to Patreon. You can pay $1 a month or a bit more if you want. It's up to you. There's no tiers, and you get everything. You get all the notes from my videos, and you get everything that I will be putting out through the Dungeon Master preparation, and later on with the Monster Combat Tactics stuff. All of that will be going there, plus a whole lot of other stuff, which I won't say anything too much about just yet, because it's still coming. You'll find that I will probably upload that on my weekend, because I'm now doing 6 streams a week, which is a lot. That's a lot to do. So Patreon's the best place. Another option is Super Chat and Super Stickers. So if you want me to make you an NPC today, a $5 Super Chat, and if you want me to send it to you, you need to provide me with your email address. So you can go to my business email and contact me there if you don't want to put your email address into the chat here. You just need to make sure I can identify who you are, so it's not difficult. If you are a patron and you're here, then you'll find that anything that I make here today, if you super chat, I'll still make it, but you'll find it will get uploaded. So all of the stuff I make here today will be uploaded to Patreon anyway. And will continue to be done that way. All right, so let's have a look at our quiz. A bit quiet today. We've got 18 people voted. So, do you have trouble creating non-player characters? Yes, 17%. So, very few people actually have trouble with this. No, 17%. Okay, and then sometimes 67%. Well, hopefully, and then what is that? So nobody's confused what an NPC is or a non-player character is. Good news. So this means that we just need to refine your skills, give you a few more tools, so we get that 67% able to do the job when they need to do the job. Okay? So what we're going to do is I'm going to go through the chat fairly quickly so we have plenty of time to work on this stuff. If nobody super chats $5 and doesn't want a NPC created, I will just make stuff up. I will just make stuff, and it will all go on to Patreon. That's where you'll find it. Okay. I will use a variety of different methods. I won't use the same method, and then we'll just go from there. That's my intention. This is how I'm going to do it. Okay. Hi, Pale Rider. How's it going? You want me to build AJ the Dire Hobbit Scholar? No. You have to super chat me, Pale Rider, for me to do that. I don't think AJ would take too kindly. He's got a pretty good sense of humour. He might be all right with that, but I don't know. I don't know about that. I don't feel like he's a Dire Hobbit Scholar. He would agree with Hobbit Scholar, though. Dartamain, talking complete homebrew here. Yes, we are talking complete homebrew. We're going to make everything from scratch. Dinomancer, Dartamain, so we built the structure for an adventure. If you want the Word document for that, because I don't know that you are a patron. I believe that Agile Monk's intention was to allow you to have that document. So you need to send me your email address if you want the Word document, and I will send it to you. Okay. Because he dropped $50 yesterday so that could happen. And if you want it, you can have it. You just need to contact me. My email address is in the About section of my channel, but you need to be on a desktop computer. You will not find it on a mobile device, because mobile devices don't let you know any of that stuff. Dinomancer, hello. Yep, it's all up. She's all good. Coming up and remembering names of NPCs. Yeah, I totally understand. Coming up with names can be very difficult. I doubt I will ever be ready to do homebrew. I just stick with the modules. So what you want to do, Dartamain, is you're going to run your pre-made modules, and you're going to insert some of your own stuff. That's the easiest way to feel comfortable with the whole process. Okay, so we've got a super chat. Somebody is going to give me some instructions on what they want made. Hello, big kid. I need a good blacksmith NPC and don't want normal dwarf. Okay, fine. All right. So for those of you who are wondering why have I not said hi to everybody, I'm going to go through here real quick, big kid, and just say hi to people. I'm not going to talk and respond to the chat because we've got some work to do now. So, Rex, hello Rex, how's it going? M14 is here. Rex Fellis, yes, and who else is here? Alexander's here. Hello, how's it going? Alex, yes, that's why I pointed it out. Remember, I do the homework so you don't have to. Jeff, how's it going? And who else is? Have I missed anybody? I think we've got everybody named. Yeah, have I missed anybody? I haven't. No. Okay. Right. Yes, I know he does, but I'm not going to create it. Okay. AJ's responsible for helping me prepare the DM preparation for monster creation that we're running tomorrow. So there's no way I'm going to do that. It's just not going to happen. Okay, so we need a blacksmith NPC, and you don't want to have a normal dwarf. Right, so let's go to a different screen. Oops, I almost forgot. I need to make sure I have my phone with me, because if I don't have my phone with me, I can't see the chat, can I? Hang on. Okay, now that I'm turning my phone on, and hopefully that will come alive in a second, and we'll be able to get started. I'm going to shift over to my screen so you can see this. Moving along here. Fender, hello, how's it going, Fender? Right, let's scroll on down. I think we're in the right place. Let's transition over, and you will see that I'm using a Google document. The idea is that we don't create anything too complicated that you can't use. Like, that would be stupid, right? The idea is to make something that you can actually use rather than not use. And we are, come on. So we're going to use a series of different strategies. I think the first strategy for this is going to be definitely a look at my preferred method, which is to use the player's handbook. I know that sounds really strange. So we cannot create a NPC for him that is a dwarf. So no dwarving today, people. No dwarf jokes. Okay. It's going to be considered inappropriate for the purposes of this task. And if I can just open this. So you'll see that I've already just laid it out. It's very simple. There's nothing to it. We're dealing with a blacksmith. So we have a function. So we can type that in now. Blacksmith. Very easy. That was not hard at all, was it? And then we want to... Oh, can I pull this up? Will it even show me that I have a live stream on my phone? This is always funny. I tell you, YouTube is a bizarre machine sometimes. Sometimes it's like, oh no, you're doing something, but I don't know what it is. The stat block we're going to use as a commoner. As I said, it's often smarter just to use commoner. So we've got that done. We're not going to necessarily deal with appearance. We don't necessarily need a secret. And I'm just waiting for my phone to load up so we can actually do this. And then I've got to make sure I keep a track of everything, which is going to be interesting. Okay. So, make it an elf. So, because we are, no, come on, can I not scroll up and down on this thing? Because we're making an NPC for Big Kid, and we need to do a good job, right? That means that Big Kid signs off on everything we do for today. Okay, so every suggestion that you give, a missing finger, okay. Yep, an underground pit fighting in a lawless town could be his secret. Okay, so we now have a physical attribute for him, a missing finger. Has a missing finger. Do we know which finger it needs to be? Like, have we decided which finger we think is the best one to go with? Something like that will actually be like it's which finger would it be? And you want to have, he runs an underground pit fighting. So he's underground pit fighting. Okay, yep. Underground pit fighting. Okay. Now I'm hoping that this phone won't just keep turning itself off. This is going to be very frustrating otherwise. I don't want to have to keep doing that. That's going to be very, very annoying. So I'm going to grab the player's handbook because this is the one I had recommended that you do it with. He's a blacksmith. Okay, so he's a blacksmith and he runs underground pit fighting. The pointy finger, the pinky finger. All right, so we'll make it this pinky. He's missing a pinky finger. Left or right? Does it matter? Do we need to be that specific? Love the missing finger. So he has a missing pinky finger. We'll go left side pinky finger. All right, you'll let me know if you want to change it to the right, and I will put that in Big Kit. Okay. All right, so I really hate it when you can't get YouTube to the phone to just stay up all the time. It's really annoying, I have to say. Anyway, so what do we turn to in the player's handbook to get our other aspects? Personality traits, ideals, bonds, flaws. This is what we want to do. I have turned to page 127. This is the beginning of the backgrounds. And so what we're going to do here is I'm going to turn to artisan. There's usually a section. Guild Artisan is probably the most suitable background out of the player's handbook to utilize. You'll find that on page 132. So Big Kid, if you are there, that's the place you want to be looking, because that's where we're going to draw stuff from. Well, I think it makes sense. It actually makes sense because, you know, I can't count the number of people in the carpentry field that have lost a finger. And if you're a blacksmith, you probably would have lost a few fingers along the way, whatever you would be doing. You know, it's like, it's probably happened. So I am, so this is what's happening here. As I didn't actually run it. So now I'm live, so it shouldn't stop fiddling around. That's why I wasn't actually seeing anything. I do apologise for those of you. He lost a finger in an unfortunate spring hammer accident. Okay, here's a missing left side, left hand, pinky finger from a hammer accident. Okay, right, so personality traits. Let's have a look at what we've got here under Guild Artisan. Guild Artisan, basically they have a lot of things that they do, right? What do you got here? What's this, Alec? I like the idea of him having a criminal background before going straight. Maybe he still does some shady stuff on the side. Okay, so this is a choice that needs to be made, Big Kid. Are we going to use the background Guild Artisan, or do we want to use the criminal background? Because Alex makes a very good point. Because it could go both ways, right? We don't need to pick. We don't need to necessarily pick one or the other, I guess. But I think this is actually quite smart. Obviously, got some underhanded dealings going on here, right? I'm cool with I'm cool with Char choosing rest. Who's Char? Who's Char? All right, let's just go with the Guild Artisan, okay? Because this might be just a side thing. Not character. Okay. What? He was in a mouthful of tobacco chewing. What? He always has a mouthful of. So, are you happy with that? We'll put in. We can change this if need be. So one of the personality traits. I feel like this is. It was kind of like that. It's kind of like that. Okay. All right. Okay. So it sounds like we're using the criminal background. You'll let me know if that's not the one you wanted. You want the chat to decide things rather than the background. Oh, it's fine. So let's go with choose tobacco. Okay. Tobacco. Did I get it right? Big Kid, by necessity, criminal act at heart. So we can mix and match, I suppose. We could flick back and forth, right? Ideals. So I'm going to read out a few of the ideals that we have for the criminal and a few of the ideals that we have for the Guild Artisan. And people are going to tell me which ones they kind of like, unless they come up with something before I even get a chance to do that. Buried Axe, I have 7 billion NPCs laugh out loud. I will drop your yesterday adventure background of the gods in a little while. It'll be large. You might like it. Got to got to walk the dog now. Thank you, Buried Axe. I kind of figured you might look. Not everybody needs NPCs, but I'm doing this because I know some people will need it. Yep. All right. So let's have a look at what we have in terms of personality traits. I believe that anything worth doing is worth doing right. I can't help it. I am a perfectionist. So basically, the personality trait is perfectionist. Yep. This is for the criminal. This is for the guild artisan, by the way. We also have I am a snob who looks down on those who can't appreciate fine art. Okay, well, fine. I always want to know how things work and what makes people tick. That kind of makes sense. How things work, yes. I'm full of witty proverbs. Yeah, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I suppose you could do that. Motivation to earn enough coin to stand and good standing to ask the hand of the sheriff's ex-wife. That's very specific. I don't know that Big Kid's gonna like that. Well, we can stick it in and he can tell me if that's like nah. But we'll put it in. Okay. And he'll let us know if it's like it's a really bad idea, Fred. Earn enough coin to ask woman who likes. We're just going to put that. Okay, it doesn't need to be quite so specific as to the ex-wife of the sheriff. Jeeves, great video. Sorry to dip out. It's 2 a.m. Well, I can totally understand. UK, it's a bit early, isn't it? Really? What have you got here, Pale Rider? He was a royal blacksmith before they caught him, pocketing precious stones that cost him his finger. Oh, maybe. Okay, I will just put that in as a possibility. Okay, so this is obviously part of his secret. Whether you actually use this, Big Kid, is completely up to you. I don't know that it's necessarily going to be the thing you want, but we'll get there. Was a royal blacksmith who lost her. Is it a his or is it a he or a she? It's probably a good thing. Who lost job to stealing. From king and queen or monarch. There we go. We've got it. So we need to focus on the other things too, people, from the monarch. Okay. Oh, I totally use them. You're going to use them? All right, I'll make sure I write it all down then, okay? Bear with me. Right, so back to personality traits, because we've got chew tobaccos, but do we need to add anything else? You'll let me know. I'm rude to people who lack my commitment to hard work and fair play. So we could use that. Or I like to talk at length about my profession. I do part with my money. I don't part with my money easily, and will haggle tirelessly. So I'm a Scrooge, basically. I'm well known for my work, and I want to make sure someone appreciates it. Okay, so a bit of pride going on there. So that's the artisan personality traits that we've got currently, right? I'm having a game Thursday. I'm DMing. Okay, so we need to get this done, don't we? So let's have a look at the criminal personality traits, and I'll run over them, and you'll let me know if there's anything we need to add here, and you can decide. Okay, so we've got some Dinomancer has offered up a flaw that he is deaf to the cries of children. Ooh, that's very specific. I like the idea that he was deaf. I don't know why it necessarily has to be the cries of children. Is there a lot going on here? So he's prideful. Prideful of okay, so we've got that. Sorry about this. Cauliflower, dead ear. Pale rider, that could work. That could work. So we'll write down this floor, and you'll let me know, big kid, if you hate it. He's deaf to the cries of... is it small children or just children in general? Children. So, although I feel like just deaf might be better, I'll just put deaf as another option. So you can just cut and paste it as you see fit, big kid. Okay, so we've had a look at some of the personality traits. Nobody terribly. Constant ringing. Constant ringing is a flaw. Okay, that makes sense. Has constant ringing in ears. All right, so we've done that. I like it, and the not sympathetic part about children. You like, so we're keeping that. Okay, all right, that's staying. You're funny. You're very, very entertaining. There's an awful lot going on here. So let's move on to another aspect that we need to deal with, and that is, did we deal with motivations? I don't think we did. We didn't deal with a name. I feel like let's go with the name. Like, we kind of shortchanged it by going straight to the backgrounds, and I should have gone with the name, because I did say start with the name, right? So let's start with the name rather than the backgrounds. We've kind of done a lot of the work already. We need to decide on what race, because that will help sort of determine name as well, and that will help us sort of look in the right place. Is there a particular race that we want to use? We could go a little bit different. I know somebody had written down the word tortle. How do you feel about a tortle blacksmith in your game? I mean, I know some people dislike the idea of having a whole lot of animal species as races in their campaigns, but big kid, that's kind of up to you. Like, you know, what is the race? And that will help me sort of define where I look. A tortle might be fun. So I'm going to write down under here. This is just to help us with getting the name right, sorted out. Race. I don't normally make race part of character creation, but I didn't notice that somebody had to put down tortle. So you'll let me know. To have a child helper that he's brutal to, spitting tobacco at them, laugh out loud. Oh, I'm open to anything. Okay, so let's go with tortle, and let's pick a name that's suitable for a tortle. Now, if I remember right, I don't necessarily have a book that has the tortle in it, or do I? I don't think I do. Female tortle. Are we really going to go that way? Okay. Well, big kid, you said it. Man, this is going to be a complex character. So we need a female name for that to work with. So I'm just going to start at the beginning of this player's handbook, because I'm just using that as our guide. And let's pick some names. Unless somebody comes up with a Rumble Jaddlewick. Rumble Jaddlewick. All right. I'm putting it down. So we'll take a few different names, and then you can just delete the ones you don't like, okay? Jaddlewick. Right. Rumble Jaddlewick. Now, anybody else have any other names? I'm going to suggest a few. I'm going to have a look at some of these names myself. Female names. Amber, no. Arton, not really. No, I don't like that. No, you can't even pronounce that. Dagnell. Iron Shelley. Pale Rider. I like it. Iron Shelley. I like it. So this is actually kind of like a nickname. Iron Shelley. Looking through our names, we still got plenty of time. Good. What do we got here? I'm looking at the dwarf names, and I feel like the dwarf names are Vistra. Vistra? Do we really want Vistra? I would prefer Vistra over any of the other names there, so I'll put Vistra. Do we need a name to go with that? And I think like what's a good turtle name? A big kid. Shah Shah Preet. I should have guessed, man. You haven't spent enough time with me, right? I've been too busy. I haven't been in the Discord often enough, and you're going a bit nutty. All right, here we go. Let's put this in here. It's going to the top. I'm going to keep all the other names because somebody else might decide to keep them, since you'll be sharing this with patrons who may or may not use it. I don't know. We'll see. Okay, Shah Shah Preet. So we've got a few different names that we could utilize by the looks of it. I am not that... Hold a heck. Actually, Vistra Hold a heck is where I'm going to go. Okay, my name maybe is not as cool and as clever as some of the other names that have been created, but you've done pretty well, people. Iron Shelley's real name is hidden behind because she is still wanted in some parts of the country. Okay, so this is part of secrets. Wanted by the law in some parts of the country. Okay, all right. We seem to be doing pretty well. Yeah, I think Iron Shelley's pretty good. I mean, the name is there. When you get the document, you can just delete the ones you don't like and keep the name you want. I can also just transfer it to the front if that's what you want, and then you can just, it'll be much easier for you to actually drop where you want to. There we go. So, okay, so we've got a name. We've sorted that out. You're loving this. Okay, good. So let's go with a motivation. We need a motivation. And some of the secret stuff that we've written down might actually be our motivation. So there's two motivations we need to contend with. There's the motivation that is related to the general world, and then the motivation that's related to the interaction with player characters. Those are ultimately what we're dealing with. Okay? What's it? So yeah, thank you, Dinomancer. Doing good. Everybody's doing really well. I'm very impressed. So we need to think in terms of, in the general world, what they're trying to do in the general world. Okay? So you need to sort of come up with whatever that's going to work for. Now, normally the very boring and simple thing to say would be to run a successful blacksmith. Yep, that could be it. Or if we're looking at the interaction with player characters, well, we need to think about, would they be hostile, or would they be, I mean, what's their demeanor in terms of their sale pitch to the player characters? Maybe it's good, maybe it's bad. We've got to pick something. Now, feel free in the chat to offer some motivations that are a bit more complicated than this, because what I have offered is fairly generic in nature. Well, there's no water in there. I'm not going to do much good with that. Okay, right, let's move this over. One of the things I would also like to suggest is we need to fill out the appearance, because that means that you can, Big Kid, take our description to Midjourney, plug it in, and possibly get an image of the character for yourself, drawn for you by an AI. You just need to sign up for the beta. Looks like a large standing turtle. Okay. Okay, so we've got appearance there, but we need to fill out. So you need, look, you don't usually give a turtle here, but you know, what's the color of the eyes, things like that. You will fill in that. Get her name out there. The pit fighting is really just a way to make her weapons famous. Okay, she's trying to create a name for herself. Okay. Okay. Trying to make a name for herself. Crafting. Fine weapons. There we go. So that's a major, this is sort of like a world concept motivation, right? This is what we're trying to do. In the heart of the forge, she's got a mean tan. She's got a tan. How the heck does a turtle get a tan? Tan skin. Not green. All right. Thank you, Dino. That was quite funny. It would actually kind of make sense to a large degree, I think. Always sounds, always got soot on her face. Yes. Okay. Soot on her face. We've got that. Pale Rider, passive motivation, always keeping an eye, is it, out for the right crew to put her heist and to pull a heist on the Royal Armory. Okay, all right. So this is actually, I think, falls under secrets. It is motivations as well. I think what we'll do is we'll put it as a motivation, and you'll decide, Big Kid, if you want it. Looking for the right crew, right group to pull a heist. Did I get it right? Heist on the Royal Armory. Royal Armory. I struggle trying to write stuff in American spelling when I come from New Zealand, people. So every time I type an armory, I want to put a U there because I've just spelt it incorrectly in my own country. But it's not the wrong spelling for Big Kid. Anyway, so we've got that. We have some features, which is great. You can keep going with those. That's all good too. I think we are set with our name. We've got a female turtle, blacksmith. We've got quite a lot of motivations. We still need to have a motivation. I feel like what you have just done, Pale Rider, is offered a motivation for Iron Shelley that interacts with the player characters. So looking for the right group, our group of players, to pull off a heist on the Royal Armory. I think that's what the ultimate goal might be after some time. So what we'll also put in here is give customers a good deal on fine equipment and weapons. Yeah. You know, so there's an element to here of this character who's obviously a bit twisted, but also got heart in the right way. This is a complicated character now that we are developing. What is this? Fred, will you help us come up with a voice for the character? No, I'm not going to do that. I don't actually do voices that much. I can't. My voice is actually very weak now, so it breaks now. I can't pull it off. It's not really working that well. So I can't sort of engage in that sort of thing without it hurting me. So I don't do it. I can suggest something if I can think of something, but right now I'm trying to think of a female character who's sort of like this, and I'm a little bit lost right now. If somebody comes up with an idea, look, 1 or 2 words. If you can think of an actress or a fictional character that kind of portrays the voice of this total, then great. What's she got here? I feel like she wants to stay out of trouble. A motivation. Yeah, we'll put that there. Okay, we have done pretty well. We still need to deal with ideals and bonds. So I'm going to go back to Artisan, and we're going to have a look at some of the options here. Big Kid. I think the pull to criminality is a tug. She's always feels, and she's in a transition point in her life. Okay. Voice from the Monsters Inc. Wazowski. You haven't filed your paperwork. Oh. Bob Peterson. I'm not putting Bob Peterson. It's not happening. What? The voices from the sisters of Marge on The Simpsons. Oh my God. Okay, we'll put this in as an extra for you. Whether you actually want to use this is up to you, man. Since people are obviously enjoying the idea of finding the voice for this character. Whether you can do it, like, you just ignore it if you need to. So, sounds like sister. Sounds like the sisters of Marge. God. From The Simpsons. I don't remember the character from the Monsters Inc. movie that you're talking about. But I will write down you haven't filed your paperwork yet as a hint. So we'll go Monsters Inc. in brackets. Have I got it? Yes. You haven't filed. Oh, come on. Filed your paperwork. Okay, so this is getting nuts. You smoke so you can pull off the sister's voice pretty well. Okay, so I think we've got the voice. Let's go back to where we were trying to actually get something done. But obviously you guys feel passionate about the voice, so we've put the voice in. Now, if I feel like I sound a little bit odd, it's because I have to move a little bit away from my microphone to be able to actually say anything. Her name is Rose in the movie. Dinomancer. You get an A+ for being so helpful. Rose. Bracket. Monsters Inc. Rosa. Character. And we'll put that. And we've got that done. All right, let's go back to ideals and bonds and get that sorted out, because we do have a lot of the other stuff sorted out. Fender, I feel she has a greedy ideal. Wants to get money from her workplace and her pit fighting business. Well, we'll put greedy. So we can start with that for sure. And let's have a look at the options for Guild Artisan on ideals. And I'll read them out, and then I'll read out the ones for criminal. And if somebody comes up with something good or likes anything, then we'll go with that. And of course, Big Kid will have the final sign-off on this. Okay, so community. It is the duty of all civilized people to strengthen the bonds of community and the security of civilization. Lawful. I don't really feel like that's here. Generosity. My talents were given to me so that I could use them to benefit the world. I don't know. Freedom. Everyone should be free to pursue his or her own livelihood. Maybe. Greed. Well, we've got greed here already. I'm only in it for the money. We're going to write that down. Greedy. I'm only in it for the money. Now, you will let me know, Big Kid, if that seems like a terrible idea. She needs that cash to buy into a new life with the sheriff's ex. Good Lord, Dino. Buried X. Woohoo. Walking dog got me to a local noble contact. Well done. I'm glad that it was successful for you. Let me continue reading the ideals, because maybe that's not the ideal you want to use. Big Kid, you let me know. People. I am committed to the people I care about, not the ideals. Aspiration. Aspiration may be the one that we want to consider. I work hard to be the best there is at my craft. I feel like there is an aspiration aspect to her. Yep. Money is good. I'm going to put in the aspiration one as well. So greed and aspiration, and then you'll decide if you think that is bat nuts stupid, Fred. Aspiration. I don't think that anything's particularly bat crazy right now. I think it's very tame in terms of what we're putting down here. I work hard to be the best. I've got to figure out a better way of doing this. Best there is at my craft. I feel like that's sort of where we're going. Money is good. Okay, now I've missed somebody's comment here. Let me just get to that. I feel like we're almost done with this character, which means we'll be moving on to another one. Let's have a look. Pale Rider has a goblin hireling that runs her pit fighting that acts like like Brad Pitt in Fight Club. Okay, right. So we're really trying to build out this character quite a lot. I'm gonna add this in as a extra, since we seem to be going into extra time now, or extra something. You lot are nutty, I tell ya. Okay, extra. Has a goblin hireling. Did I get it right? Hireling. I don't think I did. Hireling. That runs the pit fighting. Like Brad Pitt. Where did we get to? How did we get to Brad Pitt in Fight Club? All right. Fighting. Okay. All right. A combination of inspiration and greed. Yeah, or aspiration in this case. Alex, I agree with the aspiration. Works hard but expects to be paid well for it. Aspiration versus inspiration. Inspired to do better for one, not cockiness from Roller. Derry, how's it going? Did I get your name right? It is Derry, right? I'm hoping I got it. Anyway, let's move on. I feel like we have kind of nailed down ideals. I don't know that we necessarily need to read out the criminal ones, although it's very tempting to. But I feel like we are on the right track. And yeah, honor, freedom, charity, greed, people, redemption, aspiration. I feel like we're actually doing all right. So let's not get, because we don't want to make the character too complicated, so that it's unusable. Like, you can do that, right? It's possible. At my craft. So let's deal with a bond. And we'll do the guild artisan bond, unless you want me to do the other one, or somebody comes up with a better idea. But we need to have a bond now, because we haven't done that. That's one of the aspects of your NPC, right, is the bond. Okay, so let's read out these and give you some ideas, and then we'll read out the criminal ones and see where we go. What have you got here? Work hard to overcome no reliance on accomplishments. Okay, all right, I'm not too sure what that means. Okay, so bond. The workshop where I learned my trade is the most important place in the world to me. Okay. Well, okay, that might well be, that kind of makes sense. That might well be where we're at. It actually works quite well. Next one, I created a great work for someone and then found them unworthy to receive it. I'm still looking for someone worthy. Okay, so they've made something. Maybe. I owe my guild a great debt for forging me into the, or is it, forging me into the person I am today. I pursue wealth to secure someone's love. Maybe it's that as well. One day I will return to my guild and prove that I am the greatest artisan of them all. I am the one. I will get revenge on the evil forces that destroyed my place of business and ruined my livelihood. Doesn't really fit. My tools are my children. Dinomancer. I'm going to put that down. Okay? I think you've got a good one there. My tools are my children. That is actually very clever. My hammer is my son, and my anvil, my daughter. Oh my gosh, you really are going for it. Okay, I'm going to find my hammer. Son. I need to do that. There, son. A bit of grammatical stuff needs to be sorted out here. And you had another one here. My anvil. Okay, so we have a bond. I still feel like the workshop one, I'm tempted to put that in, but up to Big Kid, really, ultimately in the end. Stable family. A lucky horseshoe. Tools are my children. Nice. I think my tools are my children is actually very, very good. I think I was quite impressed by that idea. So I'm going to put in this one that's in the player's handbook. My workshop is the most important place in the world. Okay, I think I got that. Alec, what do you got here? That's a brilliant bond. Yeah, I think it actually is. It's very craftsman loves. Yeah, tools are my children. You like that one? Okay, so we have nailed that down. So that means we have actually all of the bits and pieces that we need. We don't want to get too silly because otherwise the character becomes unusable. We've filled out all of the things we required. We've got the name, Iron Shelley, and a few others. We put in race to make it a little bit easier. Female turtle. We've got lots of motivations. We've got a function, blacksmith, and pit fight owner. And I think we can also put down here thief. I think that's a few of them. We've got our personality traits, which are fine. I think chewing the tobacco is quite a chewing tobacco turtle, really. Does she smoke cigars? I feel like I'm going to put smoke cigars. I can't believe I'm doing this. How do I spell cigar? Oh, it's gone. My brain is, it's not even coming out right. Cigars. Ciders? Cigars? Yeah, cigars. I think that's right. Okay, cigars. Dish rag. What do you got here? How do I join your Patron, Fred? It's easy. You just go to the home page of my channel, and you'll find in the top right corner there's a couple of little icons, and you just click onto that, and then you just decide how much you want to pay a month. That's right. You get everything for whatever you decide to pay a month. I think the smallest amount you can pay per month is $1. Otherwise, you go to the About section. Down the bottom in the About section, you'll see the Patron. You just click it on and join. Easy peasies, okay? Dino? Her workshop is hers. It's what she has built for herself. Yep, so we're keeping that. Dish rag doll. Dish rag doll. Deria, I'm not sure where we're going with that. Polished pearls, giving her time to catch up. We're going to... So here we're going to do... What we're going to do is, I'm actually going to take your polished pearls and add that to her appearance. Where's... pearl earrings. I don't know why that doesn't make any sense whatsoever, but I'm putting it in, okay? You found it. Okay, good. Just give me a bit of time to get all this stuff up, because since there's so many of these things going, it's going to be till the weekend before I can get it done. Get it all put into Word. It'll be Word document for this stuff that you guys want to play with, and the actual tutorial, the first part of the tutorial, that will be PDF, so that you can actually edit it without having to unlock the PDF. Like, okay. Although I know you can just cut and paste from a PDF, it's not a big deal. Okay, so I think dish rag doll. Oh, I don't know what to do with that. Dish rag doll. Dish rag doll. Dish rag doll. No, I'm going to leave it. I'm not too sure what to do with that. Okay, so this is done. So we're going to make sure it is all good, and we're going to do another one, but we're going to use a different method. Okay, we're going to use a a very, very different method. And so you know how to do this, dude. Big kid, all you need to do is make sure, just send me a private message on Discord. You know how to get to me on Discord, and I will email you, or you can just email me, and I will send you the Word document for your NPC, okay, so that you can use it. And it will, of course, go onto Patreon as well. Okay, so let's do another one. All right, now, big kid, you better use that Brad Pitt goblin. Really? A tad woman? Polished, cleaned, sniffing. I'm not sure where we're going with that. Looking forward to this PDF, dude. Yeah, well, like I said, there's not just one. There's a lot coming. I don't even know how I'm supposed to keep up with this. So let's put this book away, the Player's Handbook we've used. Okay, so one technique that we can utilize. Next, we're going to use a different technique. I'm going to grab one of the resources that I've talked and raved about so much. And it's actually not the Game Master's book of non-player characters. It's actually the Game Master's book of random encounters. I've kind of done this book before, but it's one of the most brilliant books I've ever seen, because it really does make it super easy to do everything. So get out your dice, people. I'm serious. Get out your dice. You need a percentile dice. So that means, sorry for those of you who don't understand what I'm talking about, you need 2 dice. You need the percentile dice. This goes from, this has basically got 2 digits on it. Okay, it goes from 10 to 00. Okay, and then you've got the 10-sided dice that goes from 0 to 9. Okay, the 0 is the 10. And you're going to roll these. All right, and you're going to give me a percentile number, and I'm going to pick out what is going to fit into where. We're going to start off with the first name. We've got the last name. I want a brief description. I've got a brief description here. I will select the thing that I think that fits the number that you have rolled, and we're going to literally do it using this random chart. And then when we haven't got everything that we need, we're going to do something else. What we're going to do is we're going to definitely fill it in with some Rory Story Cubes. Dinomancer just rolled a 47. So 47, our first name, this is going to be interesting, Lumi. I'm not sure what to say about Lumi, but let's go with Lumi. Second, the last name. I need the last name now, people. Roll me some more dice. Traditional woman. Okay, so Rex, thank you, Rex. Yeah, Derry, I don't know where you're going. I feel that you're going in a direction I'm not willing to go in. It could well be. We can disagree on that one. It's all right. The world won't end. Okay, so Excellent. Can I just say that Lumi Excellent, that surname sucks balls. All right, so Derry, you've written, no, I just had a 47. I don't want to do another 47. I'll do the 7 though. Let's do the 7. You rolled a 7, I'll take that. So you guys might as well roll multiple numbers because I will just keep moving on from one to the next. Noose Catcher. Lumi Noose Catcher. I actually don't mind that. That's not, I can do that. Catcher. Okay, so we've got a name. Well, our next thing on this chart is a brief description. So we're going to move to our appearance. I am going to use Commoner because I usually do with NPCs. I don't usually go to all this effort to make something that's going to engage in combat. What would be the point? So let's see. Our next thing is our brief description under appearance. And the next number that Derry has rolled is a 69. So let's go to 69 and see what 69 is under brief. Yeah, there we go. 69. Okay. Has a cute smile and a belt of knives. Can I just feel like there's a mixed message going on there? All right, let's put this down. Has a cute smile and a belt of knives. This sounds really bad. This dominatrix thing might be going on here, or is this some sort of like Black Widow thing? I'm gonna add that in. Somehow I've got to incorporate that she's. Oh dear. What does that really mean, though? Okay, so Big Kid rolled a 72. Our next thing on here is wants and needs. All right, so wants and needs falls under ideals and motivations to a large degree, so we can fill that out. So you rolled, Big Kid, a 72. 72 off our chart here is going to be enjoys harmless flirting. I feel like it's going in a particular direction. All right, so motivation, ideals, no. Let's go. Enjoys harmless flirting. Okay, all right. Got enjoys harmless flirting. Derry, butterflies be on the weary. Butterflies be on the weary. What am I going to do with butterflies be on the weary? I don't know. Okay. Let's do this. Okay. How about she always has butterflies fluttering around her. Oh, if this doesn't confuse a player character or a player, I don't know what will. Alec, you got 73. Okay, so we actually got wants and needs, and so your 73 is going to be going into secrets or obstacles. Since this is how this chart works, secrets and obstacles, and that's the 73. What is 73? Assumes everyone they meet is a shifter. Far out. Oh my god. This is okay. Assumes everyone they meet is is a shifter. For those of you who don't know what that means, a shifter is somebody who can who's sort of part animal, part humanoid. Shifter or changeling. That's really where we want to go with this, right? This character is screwed up. Dinomancer. I'm going to take your 92 to establish what they're carrying, because this chart works on equipment. So we will add another section, which will be equipment. equipment. Come on, Fred, get it sorted out. Man, I am slow. Okay, I need to keep up with the chat here. So Dynamancer 92, we'll deal with that in a second, but I'm going to lose you in a second, aren't I? All right, let's do that now. 92, where are you? 92, equipment. Okay. A layer that's missing all but one string. Good Lord. So basically it's a guitar. Okay. Missing all but one string. Sweet. Okay, I am falling behind here. Why am I struggling? Oh, Dynamancer, I just seen your email come through. I'll get to you when I get past the 2 lessons I've got left to run to this week, plus the Unearthed Arcana at the end of the week. Oh my God. Right, so imagine a butterfly net dipped in soap solution, and each butterfly trapped in a bubble. I am trying to imagine that. It seems not pinned butterflies, but undead butterflies. Do we really want her to be surrounded by undead butterflies? She always has undead butterflies fluttering around her. I'll do that. How's that there? Has undead butterflies fluttering around her. What a sick character this is. Yeah, Alec, the chart's actually pretty good. I mean, that only got us so far, but it's all right because we can get ourselves the rest of the way by using some Rory story cubes. And you guys are coming up with plenty of ideas, so filling in the gaps is not going to actually be that difficult. I think we're going to be fine. Like, it's not going to be that hard. Butterfly pet swarms of tickling. Really? But I am laughing too hard to focus. I'm struggling to keep up with all of you. So I'm going to grab my Rory story cubes, okay? Because I haven't used them yet, and I have talked about using them, and so we might as well. We've used the table. We didn't get very far. It didn't give us everything we needed. That's all right. That's fine. So I'm not going to roll all of them all at once. Instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll 3 of them. I'm going to call them out, and that is what we have to work with to deal with each thing as we go. We've already got the name. I think what we'll try to do is nail down what race we're dealing with. And it's obviously a she. Race. Female seems to be the... we seem to be doing females today, which is fine. I'm all right with that. Female, and let's somebody needs to come up with an interesting race. And we'll come back to that. Okay, function. I'm going to roll some dice. I'm going to roll 3 dice. I'm going to tell you what the images are, and then we're going to come up with some ideas. This is practice for one of the other lessons that we'll be doing in the future. Okay. Although we could roll the dice to determine the race, but I don't know. I'll let people come up with some different races. Don't say human. Okay, so I got a walking stick. So we're dealing with function. We've got a walking stick. We have a footprint, and we have a credit card. Oh, okay. So that's quite a hard sort of, how do we fix that one in terms of function? What does she do? I feel like she's a banker. Maybe she's a banker. Or is she a tax collector? Let's put down tax collector. We can put down a couple of different ideas, right? Tax collector. Tax collector. We'll roll 3 different dice again. Anybody come up with a better idea using a walking stick, a credit card, and a footprint? You go for it. I used the credit card and decided banker or tax collector. Sata, Derry. Game terms: butterfly swarm, vision, tickle, Sata. Sata, we can put down Sata as race. If somebody comes up with something better. But yeah, we'll stay with that for now. Right, rolling these dice again. I'm looking, as I said, at function. What do they do in the adventure? Or what do they purpose? So I rolled a keyhole, a bridge, and a world. Let's put her down as a locksmith function. Locksmith. And I'm kind of feeling like locksmith. Since we were talking about tour guides yesterday, which we probably should sort of avoid going there. I'm looking at the world and I'm thinking travel, and I see the bridge and moving over the bridge. So I'm going to put down tour guide as well. If people have a better idea in terms of the function, tour guide. It doesn't need to be a nefarious character. It just might need to be a strange character, right? We don't need to get too horrible about the nature of this character. If people have better ideas, you need to let me know. Let me just check. Am I doing all right in terms of my stream? It seems to be fine. Okay, good. All right, so back to here. We need to. I'm going to roll another 3 dice, and we'll move on, and we'll go with. We've probably got plenty of time to be able to do another shot at function. So we've got plenty of different ideas there, of which you guys will decide on which one you like. So I've rolled an arrow, a question mark, and a hand. And almost immediately the question mark jumped out at me. And I'm going to put it down as she is the tax collector at the city gates. Big kid. Okay. City CAC and tax collector. We just refine that. And so now, what are we going to do with this? I think what we're going to do is I'm going to take the question mark and I'm going to stick her down as a detective. Detective. Not a constable or a marshal, but a detective. She is clumsy. Okay, so I'm going to put this under floor. Clumsy. Clumsy. We can live with that. Okay, we're not finished. We need to move on. We need to do personality traits because we haven't done that yet and we're running out of time. So, three more dice again. Personality traits. Let's come up with some stuff. Or was personality trait supposed to be under clumsy? I feel like that's a flaw, but maybe that is. Maybe that's where you were trying to think about this, big kid. We'll put it under here. Cut. We'll move fairly quickly here. Paste that. That's clumsy, and I've rolled an aeroplane, a cell phone, and a bee. Personality trait. You know, right now, I just want to say that she hates bees. Bees and butterflies, or wasps and butterflies, would not get along that well, right? I'm going to put down that she hates bees, which hand means clumsy to me. Big kid, you see Matthew on The Chosen, pretty accurate. Right, okay. So I'm going to say her flaw, moving away from personality traits. I don't know what to do with the cell phone, or I do know. She she constantly talks like a runaway train. And I could not think of anything else. I just picked the phone in this case. I'm going to take the B and I'm going to put down the B as a flaw because I don't know what it is. A half B. Floor falls on back like a stinging bee. Okay. Right. Well, because she is clumsy, so hates bees and is allergic to them. Let's do that. How did I manage to get allergic to them? That's because I was not looking at what I was doing. Or was I? I'm looking at too many things. That's probably half the problem. So, personality traits. I'm rolling another 3 dice. I don't know which one we're going to stay with. We might have a mix here. It could wind up being a character that's totally unusable. All right, I got a parachute, I got a hand, and I got a sour face. Cash. What's that? Very cash. I'm not sure what that means. Ah, dear. So personality traits. We are working on this. I'm going to say that she has depression. Let's do that. Should we do that? Depression. She's clumsy, constantly talks like a runaway train, and suffers from depression. All of which you may despise. Crash, topsy tubesy. Right, I'm going to do again personality traits. We're doing all right. I rolled a pyramid, an arrow again, and a magnet. Floor bees are annoying when they fly around you. She annoys people. Well, yes, that's fine. That's fine. When she talks, things go over her head, and she jumps around from topic to topic like a buzzing bee. Right, runaway tray sound. So we're working on this. I'm going to take, based on everything else that we've done, I think what we'll do is we will get rid of the magnifying, the magnet and the arrow. I don't like that. We'll take the pyramid, and under personality traits, it doesn't fit. I'm just going to skip it. Sometimes it's better just to skip it. It stings. All right, so we're going to do ideals. Like, we're going to come up with an ideal, and we'll use these dice. She's attracted to greatness. Ideals. Right, good. Well done. Good. Like it. Now, if we were going with the city tax collector, she may be attracted to, maybe she's greedy. We can put down greed as well, but I feel like we already did that. I don't want to do that again if I can help it. Just because you're a tax collector doesn't mean you're necessarily greedy. Although I suppose it's a bit hard to imagine that. Okay, rolling these dice, I rolled a pyramid under ideals, a magnifying glass, and a happy face. Ideals. So people who are usually depressed usually like being around people who are happy. Not my property, take my money, oh no, money fight. I don't know where we're going with all of this. Ideals. So ideals, I think what we'll do is enjoys being around happy people. Yep. Big kids. More of a brown noser to rich types. Really? So we're going to put that one. And I'll roll them again. I got a abacus, a cell phone, and a lock. And that's going to be quite difficult with ideals. I mean, she likes to talk. I like to talk. I think that is an ideal that we can put in there. It's nice and simple. Okay, I won't roll any more of those for that. What we're going to do is we're going to move on and we're going to do the bond. A tax collector that's not greedy. Look, we can put down greed if you want. People can always take it out. Greedy. Okay. I just don't want to give you too much in here. So, we're rolling for bonds. What is she attached to? Okay, I rolled a sleeping person, a shadow, and a star. So we're dealing with bonds. Everyone has to pay their fair share. Okay, so what is she attached to? What is she actually connected to? That's a good question. I'm actually at a little bit of a loss here. Who would have guessed? +1 cell phone giving me to split check. Yeah. Well, you know, who can say that I'm necessarily fantastic at typing, particularly in a live stream. I feel like I want to do something with this. A bond to something. Sleeping, a star, and a shadow. I feel like the sleeping one I'm struggling with. Connected to my shadow, a bond to a shadow, in what way would that be? I don't know. I'm going to take the star, and what's this? Voice to text equals spell equals laugh. Could well be. Right, let's just go with the star, and we'll say that she is loves being outside under the stars in her, I don't know, what sort of home would she have? Piece of her childhood blanket. I like that. Sweep, not sleep. Yeah, I said sleep. It's sleep. Sorry, dude. Loves being outside under the stars in her home. In her, I don't know, home. Yeah, let's do that. But your suggestion there I actually like, so I'm going to put that in as well. Because that's, I think, better. She keeps a piece of her childhood blanket. Look, like every single one of these characters we've done today have been far more complicated than you need to make, by the way, people. way more complicated than they needed to be. All right, so that gives us a name, motivation. Is she really connected to her job? I don't think that I think her motivation can be as simple as just flirting. I think that's fine. We can just go with that. It doesn't need to be a high-powered NPC in any case. So we've got that. Function, we've got a couple of different possibilities. Personality traits, we've got some stuff going on there. We've got our ideals, we've got a bond, flaws, we've got a secret, and we've got an appearance. I feel like her appearance is not enough. So you need to do a little bit more, because really what we've got is like, she wears flowered hats. Like, it's the most ghastly thing to do, so I'm sticking it in. Yep. And she is tall for a satyr. Yep. So we're going to make it tall. Okay, all right. So I don't know about that. That is an odd character, but I don't know how useful it will necessarily be for you, be to you. And it's not built for somebody specifically who's going to use it, like the first one that we did. But we have made 2 NPCs in just over an hour, which frankly I am amazed that was achievable. But we did it. So thank you to everybody who joined me today, because I don't know how else it would have got done without your assistance. It probably wouldn't have got done without your assistance. In fact, I know it wouldn't have got done without your assistance. There's no way it would have happened. This has been quite fun. I always enjoy making NPCs because even if you don't use them now, you can potentially use them later. And that's the key to all of this, is like, you know, if you what you don't use now, you use later. So wherever you are in the world, so thank you to my patrons, and thank you to our new patron, Dino. Thank you to Big Kid for providing lots of entertainment and the idea and the super chat. thank you to everybody who's been watching my live streams. We are going to return and we're making a monster tomorrow. We're probably going to make the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man unless somebody decides they want me to make a monster for them. And yes, including the stat block. And so I don't know what else to say other than wherever you are in the world, whether it be the morning, the afternoon, or the night, please look after yourself, your family, and your friends. Be nice to your neighbours. And hey, till next time, keep rolling those 20s. Alec, I'm glad to hear it. Good. Go and create. You can do it. All of you can.